Let's get started on our first week of prompts for Dephemerember with Louisa Heinzel and 49 Dragonflies. Hi everyone, Patty here with my take on the prompts. We start off with altered playing cards and antique keys. I got stuck on the first prompt because I wanted to create some of the clipboards that Louisa makes in her video. I had my idea thought out and I created it, but then I started making mini clipboards, and I got behind before Dephemerember ever started. You'll watch her video to see how to make them. I will show you how to make 2 cards that flip up with pockets and a key charm. I printed off a few of my digitals onto sticker paper. I cut out my design to fit the playing cards. I used one with a key and a lock. I make 2 of these, so I'll have one for my next steampunk journal I'm working on. You need 2 playing cards for this project. I like the keys on this, but you couldn't see the lock so well on the Joker and the King Face card. I didn't measure, but I took a piece of cardstock and figured out how large the playing card was and made a mark with a pencil so I could cut it for a pocket for the back. It would have been better to trim the sticker paper before trying to do this, but sometimes we just don't think of how you could have done it better. Cut your pieces of cardstock to fit your playing card. I add a little extra to have a gusset to my pocket, and I could fit a few more small pieces of ephemera into them. Glue the flaps down onto the playing card. I like to put a bone folder into the open area to make sure I didn't glue anything down that I shouldn't. Do this to all your playing cards. I use clamps to hold the pockets down as the glue dries. Round the corners to match the playing card's edge. And then, of course, we ink around your edges to give the playing cards a nice vintage look. You are ready to put the grommets into the edges of the playing cards. You will need 4 grommets for each card, plus 2 for attachment onto the journal page, and 1 to hook the chain onto the page at the bottom with the key charm. 11 grommets total. I punched all of my holes first and then went back and added the grommets. Find some chain to work on these, along with some jump rings to attach the chain to the grommets. You only need to have 4 or 5 links of chain for each piece, or it is too long and doesn't fit the journal page. Pick where you want to put your flip-up playing cards into your journal. I want them to be on the front page. I figure out how I want the pockets to flip up and add the chain to the playing cards with the jump rings. I cut too long of a chain and have to go back and cut this shorter so it fits my journal page. You need to cut 3 pieces of chain. 2 pieces will be for attaching the playing cards together, and 1 will be for attaching the playing cards to the bottom of the page to keep it from flipping up and the cards moving all over in your journal. After I get these to the size I want, I mark the grommet holes at the top of the journal page so I can add a piece of ribbon to hold it in place. Add 2 more grommets to the top of the page. My page was very thin, so I added a piece of cardstock to firm up the back side of the page and make this into another pocket for a little tag. The bottom of the page, I just added a folded over piece of cardstock to firm up this grommet area. My grommets have too long of a shank to use with thin paper, or they just pull out and they don't make a nice back. Stiffening up the hole with cardstock helps with this problem. Again, no measuring, just cut a matching piece of cardstock for the back of this journal page, and I add a little diamond cut out at the bottom of the pocket to give it a little more interest. Don't forget to ink around those edges. Glue to the page, but only on the edges so you can use it as a tuck spot. Again, I used my clamps to hold the tuck spot down while the glue dries. Add your grommets and you're ready to attach your flip-up playing cards to your page with a piece of ribbon. I used a pencil to push the ribbon through the grommet at the corner of the playing card, then through the journal page, around over the second grommet from the back of the journal page. Pull the ribbon through to the front of the page and tie a bow or a knot at the top. You're ready to add your chain to the bottom of the playing card, or this piece will just flop around in your journal. You'll have to undo the clip from the bottom of the page to be able to flip up your playing cards and to get to your pockets and pull out your ephemera in your pockets. But this adds more interest and interaction in your journal, which is really a nice feature. Now we're ready to add some ephemera pieces to our little pockets. Louisa has some journaling tickets that I put into every journal I make. They are so fun, and I love the words and quotes on them. Some of the tickets are small in size and fit just right into this little pocket. I found these clasps, locking earring clasp. I decided to use the earring clasp for this project. I added a jump ring to the chain and add the charm to the chain. Then you can hook your clasp onto the grommet that's at the bottom of the page. This holds your cards from flipping all around, and I think it really adds a nice touch. Okay, we're ready for the layered tag and retro film strip. I vintage up some packaging tape with alcohol ink. I have 3 colors in the alcohol inks: latte, caramel, and ginger. I put the packaging tape down onto the back side of the sticker paper that I used in the first prompt. It has a slippery texture to it, and I could pull off the tape easily. I stamped onto the tape on one side and need to add another strip of packaging tape down the sticky side so I can use it for my film strip and it won't be sticky. I could just peel it off the sticker paper and lay it flat and add the packaging tape right onto the sticky side of the packaging tape. In Louisa's video, she shows folding the tape in half and then stamping the tape. But I had already stamped onto the tape, so I wanted to use it and wanted it to be a long piece. Folding it now, you couldn't figure out what was stamped on it because you can see through the tape. I made extra of the tape. Keep going. Next thing you know, you're behind and are on week 1 when everyone else is on week 3. Now to make my strips. My mom was throwing away the ends to a spiral notebook. I thought I can use these strips for something. I removed the wire from the holes, being very careful not to rip the holes, as this is what I want to use. I ended up cutting the wire off every 5 or 6 holes. I measured the strips to make them all match the size I wanted to show down my handmade film strip, and colored them with some of the alcohol ink while I was coloring the packaging tape. After I get my strips the size and color I want, I glue them onto the stamped packaging tape down the edges. Glue the strips onto each side of the packaging tape, front and back, as this tag will be able to be seen from both sides. Line up all the little holes when gluing the pieces into the front after you have glued the strip onto the back side. Wipe off any excess glue. I had stamped this with a permanent black archival ink, so getting it wet with the baby wipe did not destroy my stamping. Do the same thing down the other side of the packaging tape. I used the same stamp and stamped a piece of watercolor paper and painted the lupine with purple and added a little green to the leaves. Someone has sent me in a Happy Mail this little piece of die cut of a film strip that I want to put a blown up piece of the painted lupin into and showcase onto my tag. This is a long stamp, so I'm doing it upside down so I can get an even stamping. I don't have a long enough acrylic pad to put my stamp onto to be able to stamp it the correct direction. Now to paint the stamp. I have these watercolors from Little Rainbow Moon. She makes her own watercolors, and I just love the colors I have. I mist the tins and get the watercolors wet so I can use them on my stamped image. I have these 3 water-holding paint brushes that work nicely to paint the lupin. I don't try to stay in the lines. I want a loose watercolor feel and just some color onto the flower. Had to add a little more water to this one, so I just squirted it in from my spray bottle. Start with the lightest color first and then add a few darker spots here and there on the lupin flower. Add a little green to the leaves and let this dry. While the flower is drying, I cut my tag out and cut the center of it to be able to layer the film strip into the tag. I cut this on a mat and just left 3 squares per side as I was cutting out the center of the folded over 8.5 by 11-inch piece of cardstock, cutting down through both layers. Crop off the top of the tag. We can add a hole and ribbon later. Layer your film strip to the tag and glue down. Wipe off any excess glue. And trim the pieces that stick out to fit into the tag. I find where I want to put the dried watercolor lupin and cut a piece to fit the small piece of die cut film strip. Decide where to put your focal point onto your tag. Glue this onto the tag and wipe off any excess glue. Ink around the edges, and then I decided to stamp the edges of the tag with some stamps. It looked a little plain. I picked a couple stamps with scrolls and some lettering and randomly stamped the sides, both front and back, all the way around the tag. Now to add a hole to the top of the tag. I have a slotted hole punch, and for this large tag I thought it would look the best. Add a little piece of material for a topper, and this prompt is done. Let's find a place to put it into our journal. It is so large I don't have a pocket big enough to hold it, so I hinged it to the page with a little piece of my handmade washi tape that I love to make. Add it down the side and attach to the page. You will see a little of the tape down the side of the tag and the back side of the journal page. We are ready for the Apothecary label and Quirky cat or dog ephemera. I have these gorgeous digitals I was wanting to use as soon as I saw this prompt. My plan is to use my two pups that Darcy from Darcy's Mixed Media made for me last year during Dephemerember. So they may not be quirky, but they sure are adorable. First, I trim the excess of the page with the white border and add them to a couple pages in my journal. Glued them down so you can see this as a 2-page spread. I let this dry and cut out the digitals that Darcy made with the pups. She captured my two dogs perfectly. Next, I made a couple slits with my X-Acto knife down both sides of this perfume bottle on my page. I want the pups to be sticking behind the bottle. I have a cutting mat behind the page and make the slits down the sides of the bottle. Fussy cut the pups from the digital. I printed these out onto cardstock so they'll be heavy enough to be able to pull in and out of the page. That's me with my pups. Aren't they the cutest? I had to adjust my slits on the bottle to be able to get the legs under the bottle and have them sticking out the way I wanted. I had just taken my mini golden doodle in to have her professionally groomed for her first time, and she came home with two tiny little green bows, so I put one in her hair and one as a bow tie for the mini schnauzer, 'cause he's a boy. Okay, that's my favorite page so far. Snippet roll and woven flowers next. My plan is to make flowers like Barbara did in her video, but I tried to use my snippet roll and make the flowers. Well, I just didn't look so good. So I went with plan B and used a different snippet roll and just cut petals for the flower. I tried to make these flowers work and found some woven bags from a bag of avocados I had purchased at the store. So that was going to be my leaves. Then I found this red piece of woven bag and it on top of the leaves, and you could see through it, the wovenness of it, and see the leaves behind it. And then there are the flower petals cut from the snippet. I also found this other gold medallion type plastic piece that looked perfect in the center. So that is my snippet roll and woven flowers. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait for week 2. Bye now.